Beyond.
Beyond.
Wow, that was in sync.
Wow,
That was wonderful.
you did it.
Wow,
Good
amazing.
Second time I just did it by myself.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jonathan Dormish. I am your host for episode Beyond 562. I am joined by Max Scoville.
That's a good hosting over there. Keep it up.
Thank you. And Brian Altano.
I think you should be the host forever.
Aw.
You're a
Let's take
great
a
host.
vote.
You're doing a good job of hosting on the show. I think you should just keep
Let
hosting.
us take
I
a vote
appreciate
right
it.
now.
Should Jonathan keep hosting the show?
Yes.
As the host.
Oh,
Yes,
can
I agree.
Can I also vote?
Yeah, sure.
I
get in
say
there.
no. He's terrible.
What?
Yeah, he is. No,
Well,
I'll say
2 to
yes.
1. We win.
Damn it. Fine. I will
right.
host.
Okay.
Before I begin actually hosting the show, a quick reminder, this week's episode of Beyond and every week's episode of Beyond goes live at beyond.ign.com at 3 p.m. Pacific every week. You can catch the new episodes there, and then they're live everywhere else you're used to watching it and listening to it 24 hours later. So always make sure to come back to beyond.ign.com every Wednesday at 3 p.m. Pacific. Well, actually, back to the show.
World premiere.
Double kill.
Embargo.
Speaking of non-embargo things, we have a lot to talk about this week, including Sony finally officially confirming that there will be another console after the PlayStation 4.
And Sony confirmed that they can launch news before we record Beyond and not after.
It was amazing.
What a nice treat. Yeah, so
great.
this is top story today is PlayStation 5, I guess?
Sort of, yeah. So they don't
yeah.
They don't officially say anything about the name of what the successor will be. Sony CEO Kenichiro Yoshida said to the Financial Times, "At this point, what I can say is it's necessary to have a next generation hardware." Shock of all shocks. In addition to that, he also told the Financial Times that this theoretical upcoming console that they are at some point making and will or will not release, it might not represent a major departure from the PS4 and that the fundamental architecture would be similar. So, Max, you and I talked about this on a conversation you can watch on IGN.com, but there's a lot to unpack here, even though they said very little about the PlayStation 5, the PlayStation successor. It's nice for them to actually just be open about it, in my opinion, especially with Xbox so clearly referencing Scarlet, and we're seeing things with games being announced for new platforms.
Xbox announced that, or they just casually dropped that, yeah, Project Scarlet is the next thing.
Yeah.
That was, what, E3 this
At
year?
E3, yeah.
Okay, yeah. So, we're getting to that part of the console life cycle where they're looking ahead to the next console. And that shouldn't be a surprise. This is funny. I mean, the fact that we even need this kind of confirmation that they are working on this thing, like it's always been, part of the plan to make another PlayStation. If they make 4 of something, they're probably going to make a 5th one. That's just how that works. But yeah, no, it does kind of tell us where we're at in terms of this.
I mean, it seems like the most obvious thing in the world to say, right? But I'm actually glad they're saying it because I think there is still to this day a lot of speculation about what will next generation hardware be like. Will next generation hardware even exist? This is the same week we've heard stories about like more Xbox cloud computing stuff and being able to stream to tablet devices and play Halo on your phone and all this other stuff.
Google now lets you, they're running a beta sort of on a Chrome in-browser streaming service that lets you play Assassin's Creed Odyssey in Chrome.
Yeah, which is awesome. And then you have Nintendo, who's sort of like, we have a handheld and a console, and they're hybrid. And then there's Sony kind of just saying, we're making a new console, and it's going to kind of be like the old one, so expect more of that, which, is not groundbreaking news, but in many ways, it's incredibly reassuring. It means that we're going to get a PlayStation 5. I don't imagine them breaking a naming convention on that, which, again, is kind of comforting to just know, like, we don't have to go like, what will it be called? Will it be the Orbis or the Dolphin?
Morpheus.
Dude, PlayStation 5 is going to be PlayStation V?
No.
Ooh.
Why not?
Because
Battlefield V?
Because they're not going to just start Roman numerals now.
They could.
No, it'll just be a PS5.
We actually did an SEO
great.
check before, and already there's SEO value in PS5, the numeral, so yeah, it'd be a big miss.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it is interesting to look at the idea of how we saw PlayStation, especially with the PS3 generation into PS4. They made a lot of missteps that they worked to fix with the PS3 generation. But Max, you and I talked about this before the show, but also just like having a different internal architecture than everyone else to deal with and how that put them in a different place than with Xbox and even with Nintendo. And so I feel like they'll probably learn from these mistakes going forward. What do you guys think to see what we will likely see with this hardware?
Backwards compatibility right out the gate, I think, is something that has been a huge, I won't say like a huge loss for them, because ultimately, if you look up at the stats of the people who actually appreciate and utilize backwards compatibility as an option on their consoles, it's not many. Like people, like it's one of those things where people like having it there, but they don't usually they don't usually use it. It's like a weird thing on your spice rack that you're like, that can't be empty, but
We've got to have a melon baller.
Exactly.
No, I think it obviously there is that nostalgia value. I think that to have the option to go back to be like, I want to play a game from 25 years ago, just to jump in there, 20 years ago, whatever. But I think, the PS3 to PS4 was kind of tricky with that. And I don't know if this is going to be a game or a console where if you, first of all, is it going to even have a disc drive? That's another one. Is it going to be physical media? I imagine they'll still have that. But can you put a PS3 game in there and will it play it? I mean, that kind of remains to be seen.
Yeah.
But if there's some proper actual alternative that lets you play every previous PlayStation game, that would be a pretty good kind of selling point out the gate.
I would be shocked if that happened. I will say with 100% confidence that it will definitely be able to play PS4 games based on nothing but my own hopes.
Even the quote saying it's going to be pretty similar to the PS4 in general. Obviously, to me, that's the weird thing about this generation, because you see the PlayStation 4 and we had these half steps with the One X and the PS4 Pro that kept everything within the same console generation family, but it is now something new, but it's not new. And so I'm curious to see how much of a departure we really get.
Yeah, and we've seen both of those systems effectively give a boost to the first 3-4 years of software. When you look at basically the launch games of PS4 and beyond and later and beyond, the PS4 Pro was able to sort of give that not so insignificant boost in terms of like graphics or performance and stuff like that. And then we saw teams like, behind The Witcher 3 go, hey, we're gonna add like this sort of performance mode to it. We're gonna add, pro capabilities and stuff. So I think watching that grow will be essential for PS5. I would like to see a bunch of stuff that we're playing right now look even better next time around. I don't really know what next generation means. This one, I'd like to say that it was effectively a more unified online infrastructure. Like back in the day, it was so much easier to quantify. You'd be like more pixels, more bits, more characters on screen. With the N64 and the PlayStation, it was like 3D games and stuff like that. Nowadays, I don't know, like what is the PS4 doing? I think it's just it's handling so much well and integrating them all together. I think stuff like suspend mode, that being able to like hit the home button and walk away for a week and come back and pick it up and keep playing Bloodborne was really cool.
There were so many just little quality of life improvements for PS4 versus previous generations, and it's again like they got it really right.
Yep.
It's not they didn't if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Like, there's not a whole lot to do here, and I think a lot of people when they hear PlayStation 5, like what are you going to have there? And a lot of people are like, oh, make it like the Switch, make it PlayStation 4's PlayStation VR is built in, make it backwards compatible with everything, but it's like, no, like don't shake it up that much. Like do something that's kind of like a competent and confident step forward that takes things that are familiar and refines them and iterates on them.
I do think we'll continue to see this now, extremely vertical arms race between Microsoft and Sony in terms of who has the best graphics, who has the best X, Y, and Z. They will constantly be going, probably until we're all dead, tit for tat for, we have the most powerful next-gen console on the planet, which is something Microsoft can say right now with confidence.
And they do quite a bit.
And they do quite a bit, as they should, because they've earned that, right? And I think a lot of people look at sort of what the Pro is capable of, and then in what the One X is capable of, and ultimately that funnels down to exclusives. And so I'm not just biased in the show. I think most would agree that Sony has better exclusives than Microsoft, and Microsoft's really stumbled with this gen. If you look at E3 this year, their entire conversation was effectively, we are swooping up studios. You will see the fruits of those trees bear in 5-10 years, maybe, who knows? It could 3 years, 4 years. But right now, Sony has a bunch of awesome studios. They're all firing on all cylinders, and we'll continue to see those things go. So I imagine they'll make an incredibly powerful system. I don't think they'll do what Nintendo's done, which is totally sidestep and go, hey, graphics don't matter, power doesn't matter. We just want to make a fun toy that you can use at home or as a handheld. I think they will continue to make a big, dark set-top box that is incredibly powerful and has awesome exclusives.
I would love so much if we got a PS4 portable. Like if we got like a PS4, and maybe not even like a with a screen on it, take it on the go, but when we've got this wonderful massive library of PS4 games at the tail end of this console's life cycle, if they were like, hey, you want something to go along with that Switch that you can bring with you, like bring your whole thing on the road, give it like a solid state, like better cooling or whatever, and maybe it doesn't run everything in 4K, but like
Well, yeah.
It seems crazy to me, the idea of whether or not backward compatibility is in whatever the PS5 is. As we're getting to the end of this life cycle, I think we will see things like Last of Us Part 2 and Death Stranding bridge that gap like we saw Last of Us 1 and GTA 5. But the idea to have God of War and Spider-Man and games like that stuck on this system for the rest of time would be foolish, especially when there is still so much life in those games.
And we're seeing the issues with future proofing for not even just backwards compatibility, but just like archival purposes.
Yeah.
Like when sort of the rights to a game evaporate, and we're like, oh well, nobody can play that. It's a pain in the ass.
And here's the thing, though, and this like I'm gonna catch hell for this because it's completely anti-consumer, but it's not in their interest to make these systems backwards compatible. Because if you look at this generation, some of the best-selling games this generation are GTA 5, Super Mario, or Mario Kart 8, The Last of Us, which I think the stats were that 70% of the people who bought a PS4 hadn't played it. And so you have a bunch of people jumping in for the first time. You have a bunch of people double dipping. And so if all of us here who bought, Red Dead and who bought The Last of Us and Spider-Man and God of War, we get a PlayStation 5 and those games are just there on day one. That's awesome for us, but they can make a whole lot more money doing the opposite of that, which sucks. And I'm not advocating for it, but I'm just saying that's what they're probably thinking if they want to run a business.
Oh, sure. It makes total sense to say, hey, I really want to be able to take my copy of God of War over to the PS5, or we can charge you $25 and maybe things will be at a better state where they can be like, it's easier across the board to say, you bought this game, we're going to give you a discount on retail.
I would appreciate that. Like if there was sort of, I don't know, some way to even, I know Nintendo with the Wii U made its thing where if you bought virtual console games for $1, you could upgrade them to the Wii U version. They didn't really add anything significant, but it was there. Voodoo,
was it the ambassador program with the 3DS?
That was the 3DS. That was basically an apology certificate for anybody who was an early adopter.
Yeah.
There's Voodoo, which is a movie streaming platform that lets you effectively scan the barcodes of your physical media and pay a nominal fee and get digital versions of them unlocked for your library, for movies anywhere and stuff like that. I think all of those things are great. They really incentivize just being loyal to that platform. I think my question really comes in with how do you iterate on that controller? What comes and goes, right? I would have to say that the touchpad will probably disappear. I don't really think it's been effectively utilized. What happens with PSVR? You mentioned the Vita or basically handheld stuff. What parts of that hardware lineage goes along with them? Do they redesign the PlayStation Eye camera? Like, Oculus just launched the
Quest is coming, which is cordless.
A completely cordless VR solution. And, we've been playing more VR stuff recently because there's been some really awesome stuff, Astrobot and others. That's still sort of a mess of snakes when you pull it out. So I'd like to see all of that get better and better and better and come along for the ride. Yeah,
I'm very curious to see how they improve. I think it will be sort of an improvement generation of refining what we have now and just making it better overall.
Yeah,
quality of life stuff, user experience, and everything.
That seems smart. I mean, they've come really far, and they don't want to. If you build a good infrastructure for games, you'll get good games on your system.
Yeah,
and then people will buy your system to play games on it because that's what it's for.
And yeah. Speaking of good games, we don't know exactly what will be on this new system, but we can begin to speculate because that is what we do best here. And so Barrett, our producer, and I have put together a list of games that we think could be possible launch titles on PS5. And so I want to get a sense from both of you guys, from this list or anything else, how likely you think some of these games might be as launch titles for or near, let's say, launch window, because that's such a popular phrase now, of the PS5. The first one that we put down, Horizon 1 Dawn, aka Horizon Zero Dawn sequel. They're going to do something bad with that title.
It's going to be Horizon Zero Noon.
Oh boy, I don't like that either.
Well, Zero Dawn is the subtitle, right? Is Horizon the name of the?
Well, so there was that weird confusion thing where pre-launch there was a colon and then they got rid of the colon.
Right.
So the title is just Horizon Zero Dawn.
Okay, so if they made a sequel, they have to carry all three of those words and then add new ones?
Yeah.
Horizon Zero Dawn 2.
Or Horizon Zero, like 8:30 a.m. It's time to wake up.
Horizon Zero Dark 30.
I think this is an incredibly smart prediction here, and I think that this is probably the one that will be most likely to come closest to that system's launch. That said, Horizon's been completed for a couple of years now, and so they have to be working on something. And Guerrilla is one of the most talented studios in the world. That I went from being like they make pretty cool games to being like I'm in love with whatever they make forever because they are on a whole new level now. We haven't heard from them in a while. and we don't know. We know their engine's being used for Death Stranding, but that's not them working on something. That's them helping.
Yeah.
No, this seems like a very safe bet, and it's like they're clearly positioning Aloy as like this is a PlayStation mascot. This is this is now someone part of our stable, and yeah.
I think seeing how successful Horizon was too, it'll largely depend on, I think, when the PS5 actually comes out.
Yeah.
When this will release in relation to it, but I think
What do you think that game could do differently? Because that game was like so like just firing on all cylinders technically.
Yeah.
And it was also at the same time like I'd say it's sort of its big revolutionary thing aside from doing so much was like the big sort of dinosaur fights. And like, chipping pieces of them off. But the rest of it was like it had mechanics that were similar to something like Tomb Raider or just I don't know, little bits of Zelda. Like it was
I would suggest like a sort of more geographically diverse landscape, but I don't know if you can get more than that. That game was basically Super Mario World. Like there was a fire zone, there was an ice zone, like
then they had like ice DLC.
Yeah,
like they kind of they did a lot there. I feel like they almost shot themselves in the foot by having like too much too soon.
I think in a world where that game released on the same week or the same time frame essentially as Breath of the Wild, and then both of their DLCs came out at the same time.
Yeah.
It was this weird back and forth between the two of them. I think there are things that can
be awesome month.
Yeah, that was pretty good. I think they can do stuff to improve the traversal. Some of the there was Assassin's Creed parkour in there, but only very limited.
Right.
I think if they want that world to be more discoverable and more searchable in general, I think they can improve a lot there.
I totally agree. There's a lot of playing Breath of the Wild after that was weird because there was that is again they let you climb everywhere.
Yeah.
And Horizon didn't. It had very specific areas where you could do that, and then other areas where you kind of had to like glitch your way up a wall or a mountain.
Yeah.
I found myself a lot of times sort of just like parrying up the side of a like a rock face and being like, I got to the top, but I don't think I was supposed to do that.
So you had there was taming in that, but I wonder if they'll do like kind of like here's your dedicated robot dinosaur companion or whatever. Like maybe give it maybe some new creature that's like your ally. That's your.
I mean, unlocking like a rideable robot pterodactyl would be awesome.
Yeah.
It wasn't really a lot of like aerial combat or anything. That's something you could throw into that game. And you fought enemies like that, but you couldn't really take control of them.
Going aerial seems like a pretty good direction for that.
Yeah.
That or underwater.
Good direction.
Underwater could be.
Yeah.
Speaking of a couple other sequels, things that we could expect from PS4, in Insomniac 2, some Spider-Man 2.
PS5.
Wow, yeah, I did. It's been a long day, folks.
It's been a long generation.
Yeah, it has, and we'll soon be at the new one. Spider-Man 2 and or Ratchet and Clank 2. Ratchet and Clank 1, the reimagining came out 2016. Spider-Man's obviously been this year.
Ratchet Clank was very good.
Yes.
I don't want to see anything but Spider-Man 2 from them right now. I want to see Spider-Man 2 as soon as possible. Get me Spider-Man.
So
like that newspaper guy.
I have a feeling
Gary
there's room for both. I don't know if there currently is, but I think that when your game sells 3.3 million units in less than a month, you can ramp up your studio a little bit. And I'm hoping they're doing some hiring over there and maybe splitting some teams apart. And some people are working on Ratchet and Clank 2, but I'm with Max. I want more Spider-Man. I mean, that is just. I don't know where you go with the second one. I mean, we've theorized on the show what we want, from everything from crossovers from our other comics to Maximum Carnage or whatever. There's tons to work with there. I think that would be a fantastic launch game.
Oh yeah, and I think if not launch, that'll probably be a first year title, hands down. That would be a great holiday following that.
We talked about this, but they laid the groundwork. They built New York.
Yeah.
That's a pretty huge undertaking in itself. So to go back and maybe the processing power of the next gen hardware will be like, oh, we've got way more people in the streets, just
Brooklyn.
way more crowds. Yeah, we've added
That
Brooklyn,
too.
Queens, just go nuts.
That's the same thing with Horizon and another game that I'm going to actually jump to right now. But the idea that these Sony first party studios have spent all this time building these worlds, now they can do stuff with those worlds rather than have to worry about the architecture. So I'm going to jump to one of those, God of War 2. When do we think we see that? Do we think at launch or do we think a little further out?
I have a feeling that one's a ways off, but I also have a feeling it's being plotted and schemed in
Corey's head.
In Corey's head and others right now.
Yeah.
Again, and it's not just because sales numbers, because dumb things sell well all the time. But this is a beloved game. This is my game of the year currently. This is the kind of game that really stuck with me. These are really powerful characters. Where their story goes and where it could continue to go is so fascinating to me. And also it's such a fantasy world that you really Spider-Man's a different one because you're like, oh, we're back in Manhattan. What'd you add?
Yeah.
You know, like the buildings are taller. There's more people walking around. There's more newspapers on the floor.
They
There's
added
dogs.
the Second Avenue subway.
Yeah, exactly.
They finally got that.
So
in
that's good. That's
Yeah.
good to know. But
It's a great New York joke.
or you bring them to a different city entirely, which doesn't really fit the character.
Yeah.
God of War is a fantasy world. You know, you make a right and you're in a completely different area, and there's so many cool places they could take that. I want bigger boss fights, more
Also,
cool stuff like
like
that.
Kratos is a Sony mascot and has been for a long time, and this sort of newest iteration managed to make fans out of people who weren't wild about his younger self, like us.
Like us.
Me too.
And it's an incredible, phenomenal game that also I think that it ended. It had like a clear end.
Yeah.
And that was like a wonderful kind of like compact experience. And I would love a new story with this character going a new direction. Yeah.
There's a lot to explore with that world, and I'm sure we'll eventually get there on the PS5, not 4. I said it right this time. Moving on to one that's a little bit of a curveball, but I don't think we're going to get Uncharted next from Naughty Dog after The Last of Us Part 2, and obviously I think we'll see a Part 2 re-release on PS5, but what about a new Naughty Dog IP? Do you think that's where they will go next after Part 2? And will we see that close in the launch window?
I hope so. I mean,
PS5?
I feel like Uncharted until until like a year ago was the Nathan Drake story, and that story's been told. And I wish Uncharted would just mean what the title of that game means, which means it's somebody going to somewhere where no one's ever been or where people used to be.
Yeah, for a franchise to be predominantly framed, like especially named Uncharted, that's like beyond. It has this sort of like this endless sort of connotation to it. So there you go. Yeah,
That's right there on the wall. Yeah,
Exactly.
It's there. It's all over the studio.
But no, like Uncharted is like, it's everything out there. So for it to be framed about like one dude and his like 8 friends, it's kind of like, okay, it's maybe go nuts. I really liked what was it? The Lost Legacy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. Now,
And-
what if we did that with brand new characters?
Yeah, and
I would love
mean,
to see that.
I think that I think Uncharted 4 was a little long in the tooth, and it kind of wore out its welcome for me. But ultimately, I loved the story they told with Nathan Drake. That world was gorgeous. There's so many cool set pieces in that game. But Lost Legacy was like the first time I was like, oh, Uncharted can be like pretty much any character doing this type of adventure. So I would love to see that.
Gonna go through the next few a little quickly, but trio of Last of Us Part 2, Death Stranding, Ghost of Tsushima, essentially the games that we know about from PlayStation but don't have release dates. Do you think those will be launch window-ish sort of re-releases or even just move to PS5 at all?
Very safe bet. I mean, I think that, how close those games come out to that being, like I feel like it's very likely that there will be 6 months, maybe less, between the release of at least one of these games and the PS5 coming out.
Yeah, I agree. I think Death Stranding of those 3 is the one most likely to get kicked to launch window of PS5. Last of Us 2, I imagine, will definitely happen on PS4. I feel like it's just something it feels like they locked into. It's also like they have there's no one really checking on Kojima to be like, are you ready? Are you done? Like he's making art, which is awesome, but like he doesn't have not I'm saying he should, but there's no Konami above him being like, put the game out. It's due Q4.
I think there's more of that than we think.
You think so?
I think so. Also, the fact that Mark Cerny's working closely with him, and that's the dude who architected the PS4.
Yeah.
I think that maybe there's some stuff under the hood with Death Stranding we don't fully know about yet.
Totally.
He's talked a lot about sort of how he wants to, there's no name for the genre that this is. I think that there's something, again, I'm one of those people. I've got my theories about Death Stranding. I think that it does some stuff that's that plays with how we play video games, and I think there's going to be something to call it multiplayer. I feel like would be almost like a disservice, but it's got something there that maybe could have new bells and whistles if it was on a new platform.
Yeah, makes sense. I think there's a lot there, especially given the rollout of information or lack thereof about the game. I think there's a lot to surprise us there. 2 more I'm going to end with. Bloodborne 2, the thing everyone has wanted for forever. Are we going to see that on PS5? Maybe not at launch, but are we going to see that on PS5?
No.
Ooh.
I don't think we'll ever see Bloodborne 2. I really don't. I think we'll maybe.
You're so sad.
No, really.
You look so upset.
Well, okay. I'll put it this way: if I tell myself we will, then I'll be disappointed until I'm dead.
What if they call it Super Bloodborne?
Great, sold. No, I would
Bloodborne.
I would love like an actual definitive remaster of that game, because that's a game that never even got a pro patch, and it's like it's a little rough around the edges when you play on a pro. I still think it's one of the most beautiful games of all time. It's one of my favorite games ever made.
Yeah, I mean, if you took that game and you kicked in HDR and filed down the rough edges, not too much, because there's a lot of good rough edges in there.
Yeah,
and
that's the thing. I do love the rough edges. Like, I love how ratty those dogs look. And those
if they nip the load times in that game, that would be such an incredible. Like, it already is an incredible game.
That's all you need to do for re-release for that game, and I feel like everyone would just buy it.
Yeah, totally. I mean, we saw Dark Souls remastered this year, so there's a chance.
Yeah,
hold that hope. I think narratively it doesn't make any sense to do a sequel, but I want more Souls in that horror realm kind of stuff. That's just perfect.
Last but not least, a game that has a release date, but who knows? Release dates are fake all the time. Ha ha ha. Please help me. Kingdom Hearts 3. Is that going to be a PS5 launch title? Is it just going to get
Knack 3?
Oh, I know. I was rushing for time a little bit. If we can spend 10 more minutes on Knack 3 if you want.
Kingdom Hearts 3.
Yes.
There's no universe in which they do not re-release this game on the next gen and the next gen after that, because they've spent how long developing it?
It's been a while.
Yeah, they're getting their money on that one.
Was it last week that they announced that they're putting every previous Kingdom Hearts game on a new?
We'll get to that, Max. Don't you worry about that. But before we do, and a few other topics on Beyond, we're going to take a very quick break.
When Sony built the DualShock for the original PlayStation, it turned to Japan Studio to make a game that demonstrated the potential of its new controller. What we got was Ape Escape, the dual-stick controlled platformer that became an instant classic. Now Japan Studio has focused its attention on PlayStation VR, and in turn, has created the best showcase of the hardware's potential I've seen yet, Astrobot Rescue Mission. Right from the opening cutscene, it's clear Japan Studio is reveling in what it can do with a VR playground. As characters zoomed in from the distance, I instinctively shifted backward in my seat. I felt like I was part of the scene. This is the key difference between Astrobot and other platformers. You actually have a presence in the world, while also controlling Captain Astro. This new perspective takes some getting used to. A level's path may lead above and behind, forcing you to turn completely around in your seat. Some walls can be knocked down by smashing your face into them, and secrets can be discovered by leaning to peer over drops to spot ledges below. The base controls are intentionally simple. Enemies can be bashed with a tap of the square button, or destroyed with Captain Astro's handy foot lasers, which double as a means of extending jumps. There's not much variety to the opposition, but the simple rhythm of combat feels good. There are also enemies that ignore your robot pal and target you directly, spitting vision-obscuring goo onto the visor screen that needs to be literally shaken off. This shaking motion is used regularly and is great in theory, but I found when the action was hectic, a vigorous shake of my head would dislodge the headset. Of course, you can always duck and weave to physically avoid the projectiles. When Astrobot merges this with traditional platforming, it feels genuinely new. Moving my body to avoid a robotic bee while trying to perform precise jumps across narrow gaps with a separate character felt like the video game equivalent of patting my head and rubbing my stomach. More passive platforming fills out Astrobot's 5 worlds. The controls are tight and responsive, and levels gradually grow in challenge, while also introducing new gadgets. These might transform your in-game DualShock 4 into a grappling hook that can be used to create a tightrope, or a ninja-style launcher that can slice through enemies and lodge shuriken into walls to create new platforms. They're all activated with intuitive touchpad inputs, and for the most part, work as intended, though I did have issues with the grappling hook registering me trying to pull down a wall. There's plenty to collect in each level, from rescuing crew members to uncovering a chameleon that's often hidden in plain sight. These all encourage you to make the most of your presence in the world, and the chameleons unlock some immensely satisfying challenge levels. Astrobot also pits you against a number of bosses, from a giant robot gorilla that will literally have you pulling teeth, to a wig-wearing corseted spider, whose webs are no match for some well-aimed ninja stars. The boss challenges are quite traditional in design, but as a VR spectacle represent some of Astrobot's most impressive moments. That said, I found the more challenging late-game bosses a little frustrating, simply because I had to play the same early waves several times just to get back to where I'd died. These moments felt a little at odds with Astrobot's overall fun-first design. It's hard to overstate how incredibly different and exciting Astrobot Rescue Mission's new perspective is for the platform genre. In almost every level, I audibly gasped or smiled with delight, like when I needed to duck my head underwater, or when Captain Astro would stand close enough to touch. The satisfying platforming and natural implementation of VR make it one of the most interesting and genuinely new-feeling games in recent memory. For more on PSVR, you can check out why we're excited for its future, and also watch a full playthrough of Astrobot's first mission. And for everything else, stick with IGN.
Boy, what a fun break that was. Anyway, back to the show. So, in addition to whatever may be coming to the PlayStation 5, we did find out some more about what's coming to PlayStation VR for your PS4, including, namely, Borderlands 2 is coming to PSVR this year.
The game that's been on everything else, right?
Yeah, they put it in the Handsome collection. Looks like I have just a lot of papers here. Don't worry about it. Yeah, they had it in. It's fine. It's just my papers. These are my papers.
Did you print screenshots?
Yeah.
Why did you print it highlighted?
That was an accident on my part because it's a
I didn't know you
screenshot.
could even do that. That's weird.
Highlighted it and then print. Okay.
Yeah, screenshots are not my strong suit, but what is talking about Borderlands 2 in PlayStation VR, which will be available December 14th, 2018. It is currently available for pre-order. The game, Borderlands 2 VR was developed by Gearbox Software itself, so this wasn't something they outsourced or anything of that regard. But you're essentially getting the fully functional game that you'll be playing in VR.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Also, why this year?
Right?
There's so much happening this year. This is awesome, but maybe just give it a few weeks. This is right before Christmas break.
This looks kind of great.
Yeah.
Like I don't actually like Borderlands, but like this looks more fun than like it looks like it's arcadey enough, and that I don't know. It's kind of appealing to me. It makes sense in VR.
So do we know sort of how this works? How are they handling movement? How they're like? I assume you have the option to just go free reign, right?
Yeah, so I don't think they've given all of the information for it. There won't be, for reference, co-op play. This will only be single player. There
goes a lot of people's excitement for that.
Yeah, but it will also include the new, of course, BAMF, aka Badass Mega Fun Time System that slows down time temporarily to let players set up their next attack. Obviously to compensate for VR movement.
So VATS.
Yep. It will both use the PlayStation Move and DualShock 4 controllers. So you will have that option to play it normally as a game. You would just be sitting on your couch, or if you want to get more involved with it, you can
play it with
controllers.
the clown nose.
Yes.
You play with the funny gun?
Let's see. The aim.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The yogurt-covered pretzel?
The frame.
Announcement, I don't have it said down here.
It does look like a yogurt-covered pretzel. Or white chocolate.
Or a giant headphone earpiece.
It will have the point and teleport walking method in it.
Okay.
Which is, I think, why that BAMF system is included to a lot, for the fact that when you're having 30 enemies shoot at you, you can more easily compensate for that.
Which explains why you wouldn't have co-op, because you'd be constantly slowing down each other's worlds.
Yes. Yeah. That would not be great. The base game is still essentially the same game. You can play as one of the 4 standard Vault Hunters from it. Skill trees have been modified for all 4 characters to include BAMF time upgrades, so this will change all of their skill sets somewhat. The game will be available for $50. And it is currently available for pre-order, and you get a free, or not free, pre-order dynamic PlayStation theme.
Oh, cool.
But yeah, in addition to this, Tetris Effect, still launching November 9th. It's now available for pre-order and at a discount. Sony also announced there is...
I can't wait for that, by the way.
Yeah, that's one of those ones where you're like, Tetris, I can play that on my phone, but it's like, this is Tetris by the guy who did Rez, right?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, that's...
Yeah.
Yeah.
In addition to that, this is all in celebration sort of PlayStation VR's second anniversary. Astrobot is getting a free demo, so if you've heard the hype about the game, which we all love, and there is a review on IGN.com now you can check out, you'll be able to download a free demo available October 16th. Firewall 0 Hour is getting DLC. They really need to stay away from the zero in their game names. I'm just realizing between that and Zero Dawn.
Horizon
These
Zero
names
Hour.
feel like procedurally generated or captchas.
Or Tom Clancy books.
Like Childish Gambino.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then Megalith is officially launching on January 8th. Use your massive size and powerful abilities to compete against each against other Titans, for control of the Earth. It's a VR hero shooter.
Good. I love the Earth.
So
what if I don't want to, huh?
then you could just let it die.
You don't have to. It's
Yeah, that is an option. You just lose the game.
That seems like an awful lot of responsibility. No, thank you. I'll sit that one out.
So I do want to, on the one hand, ask in general about Borderlands. We were talking about it a little bit before. Will either of you at least give it a try? I assume, even though you're not a huge fan of Borderlands.
Actually, when I said I was interested at like the top of that segment, I felt my interest just waning as you kept going. You're like, "There's no co-op," and I'm like, "Oh," and then it's like, "Oh," and it's you use the teleport move thing, and there's VATS, and I'm like, people will like it. It's a smart move to take a really like a game that clearly has its hardcore fan base, and it's like they're already most of the way there. It's the same kind of deal with like with Doom VFR or whatever,
Yeah.
which is like if you spend all this time building this thing, there's really no harm in retooling it so that it works on a different kind of platform.
Totally.
So it's cool. I think people are going to probably balk at the $50 price tag, given that that's a game that came out last generation. In theory.
I think Max and we coined a term a couple of years ago on Up at Noon called the cone of excitement, which effectively is a large upside down pyramid or an ice cream cone. And it starts with very exciting things at the top. And the more you learn about it, the more it whittles down into something that's very tiny and kind of like the bottom of the cone that has some melted ice cream.
I actually
milk.
love the bottom of the ice cream cone. I think it's
I like when
That's
they
a
put
great
chocolate
part.
down
Yeah.
there.
That's very nice.
Isn't that a nice gift?
It's
Yeah.
like
Keeps it
the
from
Nestle
dripping
King
out.
cone.
Yeah.
With like the
Those are
nuts on
great.
top.
You
Yeah,
guys
and
want to
then
go
at the
get
end-
drumsticks after this?
I would love a
Yeah.
good drumstick.
Oh boy.
But anyway, Borderlands 2 in VR.
No,
went
like
from-
I mean, yeah, it sort of cones down. But I think that if you're interested in this game and you're interested in PSVR, it'll be fun if you leave the expectations of playing with co-op.
So I'm excited to try it for the fact I was weird with Borderlands. I've played 1 and 2 all the way to the end solo. I have never played those games co-op because they were really great. 1, I had very few friends, and 2, they were really great as like podcast time.
Yeah.
Like I wanted something to play, and they're just perfect for that.
Yep.
When you can pause if you need to hear some of the jokes, but otherwise you can just keep going. So I'm excited to try that, especially with VR being somewhat of that isolating experience.
I think it's also a great move looking at the graphics of these games because like a lot of other first-person shooters strive to be as realistic as possible. That's effectively what that genre is always doing. If you look at every first-person shooter made by a AAA studio, they are constantly trying to make their games as realistic as possible. Borderlands obviously went completely diagonal from that. And so I think playing that in VR, you won't really see the rough edges as much because it is just kind of a goofy, fun,
cell shading,
hyper-stylized game.
It scales really well.
Yeah.
And I think also just the fact that it's kind of colorful will immediately be like more, more welcoming than if you were like, hey, here's, I don't know, like Call of Duty, like VR or whatever.
Yep.
They did that, but
Yeah.
it makes sense. And it's, I think that also it's, VR stuff typically is like sort of lower fidelity almost. I feel like, or, you see it less, things are more detailed, but a lot of people are like, this looks like a PS2 models, but that's fine.
Yeah.
And like in this case, it's a last gen game that's been up-resed and tweaked accordingly. But the fact that it's got solid art direction underneath whatever the graphics are is it'll age well.
Yeah, it's definitely a nice surprise for the end of the fall, and just especially with the other games that PlayStation is coming. Nice to see them continuing to support PSVR into this year 2 celebration.
Yeah, I feel like it was quiet for a minute there, but it's getting a renaissance right now.
Yeah, it's a really great time for VR stuff, and we'll be talking about that a little bit more this week, but also throughout the fall. Moving on to a non-VR game that's coming out at the beginning of next year, Resident Evil 2. We got 10 new minutes of Claire gameplay. And we saw a lot more of this game. So right up front, I have not played the original Resident Evil 2. I jumped into the series. 4 was the first one I played, and I've played a couple more of the recent ones, including 7. But we're seeing a lot here that really excites me about the game. I really love the way it's capturing what I always imagined Resident Evil games were intending to capture, of that just like this slow pace, unnerving horror.
I'm actually really happy you played 4 because I feel like a lot of the DNA from that game is getting carried over here, which is fantastic because Resident Evil 2 is effectively was a kind of slower paced survival horror game. It was about inventory and item management, but it was also an over-the-top action movie, or as best as you could convey that back in the day. Whereas 4 felt a little more arcadey and a little quicker. This seems to be meshing both of those worlds, which I think they've struggled with for a very long time. If you look at 5 and then especially 6 went completely over the top, and then 7 became a first-person game. This looks awesome. I can't wait for this.
Yeah.
This looks really cool. I noped out of 7 because it was too scary. Like I know that's like I'll just say it. Like I don't like horror in first person.
Yeah.
Like there's something about it that's sort of like claustrophobic in a way that isn't fun for me. This looks like the right balance of like, yeah, there's things that are scary jumping at you, but it's easier to shoot them in the head, or it's more. I don't know. There's something more reassuring about being in third person versus first.
Yep.
And I mean, I dabbled in 2 when I was a kid. Like I remember, playing at my friend's house, or hiding behind the couch while he was playing, and like I've got like some kind of very distant fond memories of it. But like I'm super stoked to just kind of see a whatever reboot, remake, reimagining of it in current gen.
Yeah, to me, it all comes down to gameplay, and that's what hooks me on 4. It's what makes me think about. I think about Resident Evil 4 probably once a day.
You talk about it really incessantly.
You talk about it a lot.
I do, because I think that honestly, it's and a lot of people can't go back to it now because you can't walk and shoot at the same time in that game. It's sort of stop and pop, right? But the way you move around in that game is so quick. The quick turn is so awesome. Aiming your laser pointer at different limbs and running up and sort of like action suplexes and all that fun stuff. It's so over the top, but it's also just really, really fun and really solid. It's also got damn near perfect pacing until the end. And so I think the big things that are hinging on this game is, does the gameplay just feel perfect? And is the pacing awesome? Because Resident Evil 4 is not just one of my favorite games because like I played it once or twice. It's one of my favorite games because I can play through it in 10 hours in a couple sittings, and then I've done that 20 times. Like, it is the kind of thing that, like, if it was 10 hours longer or 20 hours longer, I was talking about that with Andrew Goldfarb the other day about how I really love Super Mario Odyssey, but I don't think I'll ever play it again because, like, going back and collecting hundreds of moons sounds daunting. But playing a 10-hour, story-driven game like this is something I'll do a lot. And what I love about Resident Evil is historically and classically, they inspire you to play through them multiple times because you unlock costumes, you unlock hidden weapons that give you, sort of infinite rockets and stuff like that. They get you to try to play and beat the game in less than 3 hours or 5 hours or 10 hours or whatever it is. It's what the original RE2 did, and it's what I hope this one does as well. I can't wait for this game.
I can't wait to see like the goofy costumes, like all the kind of add-on towards the end stuff.
Yeah, we're actually already starting to see some for this game.
Did they do that for Zero or for Biohazard 7, whatever, the last one? Or was it mostly pretty straightforward?
I don't remember because it was first person.
Yeah, you can't really have like a suit of armor in first person.
Yeah, I mean that was like one of my favorite things about 4 is when you beat the game, you unlock either like this weird pop star girl outfit for Ashley, or she wears a full suit of armor and nobody can pick her up, or Leon dresses up like a 1920s gangster. There's so much fun stuff there. Like Resident Evil 2, I believe when you beat the game, you could play as a giant chunk of tofu. Like, they're just so weird.
Yeah. That's the best. That's yeah.
Like they're horror games that occasionally remind you, we're made by like quirky Japanese dudes and we're having a good time here.
And that horror's weird sometimes, man. We need to have fun sometimes.
I agree.
One thing I do want to know, especially from you, Brian, especially as a huge Resident Evil 4 fan and someone who's looking forward to RE2 so much, do you think there's a world where RE2 can surpass RE4?
Oh, man, I hope so. The thing is with RE4 for me is so much of it is hinged on nostalgia. Like, I remember the first time I got the demo for GameCube, which was on a disc back then. I played through it like 100 times, and the first time I heard that chainsaw guy revving in that first town, and he chopped my head off, and it was just, I screamed at my television. Like, that's what I'm looking for here. I hope there's something that thrilling and that fun. And again, like I said, if you can make the game so I want to replay it a bunch of times and just the game feel is there, the aiming, the quick turn, just snappy, fast, sharp movements, all that stuff. I hope that's there. Keeping hope alive.
There's a world.
It's okay if it's not as good as one of my top 3 favorite games.
I was going to say you'll be okay with that.
Yeah.
This seems like a very safe bet. Like this, based on how the last one went over, it seems like Capcom is like steadily kind of getting back on track with the series.
Yeah, it's nice to see that renaissance for something that I think a lot of fans did feel had gone so off the rails.
Yeah.
And it's interesting to see that within the context of you're seeing how these new takes on Resident Evil 7 and 2 are juxtaposed against, say, like Fallout 76 right now. And we're seeing these beloved, long-storied franchises trying something new or digging back into their past to try out an experiment.
Yeah, and sometimes it works and sometimes it loses you, and it's tough. It's tough to be a Resident Evil fan, man. Like, I've been there since the start, and there was some weird turns. Like, there was that first person shooter, and then there was like a bunch of like sort of on rails light gun games for the Wii, and there's the Game Boy version and some DS ports and stuff like that. And there's
so many Resident Evil games.
There's so many Resident Evil games, and 7 even, like, the reason I brought up pacing for the 2 remake, why that's so important is because not a lot of people talk about the fact that 7 kind of collapses by the end. Like that is a game that is so strong, and then the last 2 or 3 hours, once you get to like the boat section and after that, pretty much falls apart.
I've never finished just because I've heard that so much.
Yeah.
I got up to the boat and I'm like, I have too many other games to play, and I hear this isn't great, so let me step back.
It's kind of like that show Dexter, where you could just imagine it ends at season 4 or whatever, and you're like, that's it.
That'll work out.
You know,
The whole point of the story was to find the boat, and you found it. The end.
I had
Credits
a
roll.
great time. Yeah.
when you're in a house, find the boat.
We still have a few months to go before Resident Evil 2 comes out, but yeah, even as someone who is only occasionally excited by the RE franchise, I think this looks like a really awesome entry, and it's so nice to have it early in the year.
They got great jackets in those games.
They really do.
Really
Good
good
jackets.
jackets.
Yeah, fashion is important in games. We don't talk about it enough. But we're not going to talk about it right now, unfortunately. We are going to talk about, very briefly, the games that are coming out this week, provided wonderfully by the PlayStation blog every week. Of course, the big release this Friday, Call of Duty Black Ops 4. We haven't gone hands-on with that game quite yet in the full release version. We will have plenty of content on IGN for you about Black Ops 4, so fear not in the coming days. In addition to that, things like Disgaea 1 Complete are coming out as well.
Guy right here.
This guy.
No one likes that. If
just-
you like Disgaea, you probably hate that joke.
Yeah,
And
I'll-
if you like it, you'll also love this friggin' guy right here.
I spent 4 days in New York. No one said that once. I was very
I'm
disappointed.
walking here.
Yeah, I may have shouted that at someone just
I
to get
witnessed
a
one
reaction.
of those while I was out. Yeah.
It's pretty bad. Mark of the Ninja Remastered is also out this week. That was a great XBLA game from the 360 generation. If you haven't played it, I highly recommend it. Haven't tried the remastered version just yet. And also this week, speaking of PSVR, there's Home Sweet Home and also Evasion. I got to play a little bit of Evasion. Have you played any of it, Brian?
No.
So Evasion is a first-person shooter. There are a few different movement options in it. It's essentially the enemies that you're fighting are all bug-based. So they move a lot in sort of, I think it's used a lot in VR, but like this bug-like group pattern, very like Galaga-like old school shooter. It just happens to be awesome. A VR game. So you can pick up on the habits of those creatures while you're fighting through. I only played 1 or 2 levels of it, so I can't speak to the whole experience if it gets sort of a bit too repetitive or anything, because the levels I played largely were fun shooting galleries on this space planet. But there is co-op that you can do, and there are different classes, so you're able to mix and match abilities and everything. What was really fun about, at least the control of this game, again, can't speak to the full thing, but while you're shooting, you essentially weaken your enemies to a certain point, and if you're watching the video version, you may see some of it in the footage. There is a sort of yellow pickup that will come towards you. You can get that pickup before killing them by essentially tethering your gun to them, and then you whip the power up out of them, killing them in the process.
Wow, that rules.
And so
Very, what is it, Bulletstorm?
yeah, it's definitely a bit like Bulletstorm, and it's just really satisfying, especially when you're using the aim controller, because you have that gun in your hand, and then you just whip it back, and the power up comes to you as you do that. So it was a neat little movement thing. I don't know if the full experience will hold up necessarily. I've seen some people like it, some people have some middling criticism of it, but at least there's some really cool movement stuff going on there. They've also tried a bit. I got to speak to the devs in terms of movement wise. The person handling a lot of the VR movement gets motion sickness. So their baseline was like, can I play this game in VR? And so they have a few different movement modes. They obviously have the quick step teleport sort of thing. You can just move naturally. They also have a thing that puts blinders around the screen.
Oh, cool.
So as you're moving, essentially the outsides of the screen go dark so that you have a bit.
Seems like a very considerate game.
Yes. Yeah.
I appreciate how much of a video game this is.
Yes,
you know?
yeah.
This feels like a natural progression of stuff that was like in arcades in the 80s and 90s.
Absolutely. It's not trying to hide that too. It feels very much like, go through this level, try to kill as many guys. You eventually will get to a place and it's like, save these 3 beacons by taking on the 50 enemies that come at you. And so it is very wave-based. You're just going to be shooting at a lot of guys, and I think that'll really determine the longevity of the experience for you, but playing for at least 2 levels, I had a lot of fun with it.
Cool.
And it's very cool to see, like we were saying, a lot of continued VR support throughout these fall months.
No, anybody grabbing a PSVR headset at this point, like they're falling into a huge pile of games, which is cool, you know. And it's a lot of them have demos,
Because
and
they can't see.
yeah, be careful about those cables. You might trip and injure yourself.
Seriously, it's really hard to get those cables across my living room apartment. Anyway, moving on from what's coming out this week. Coming out next month, apparently, for PlayStation Plus. Want to touch on this very briefly before Max will be gone for a couple weeks, so we need to make sure he can get some time in to talk about this.
Let me talk about this real quick.
Yeah, a couple PlayStation Plus November games were revealed extremely early, accidentally, on Sony's website. The official PlayStation Plus page noted that, assumably, the PS4 2 entries will be Bulletstorm Full Clip Edition and Yakuza Kiwami.
This is a Max Scoville last month. This is
Yeah.
like a goddamn birthday present to me. This kicks ass. Okay, first of all,
Okay, Duke Nukem.
First of all, Duke Nukem's in Bulletstorm. I played like a demo of Bulletstorm when it first came out. I want to get just day drunk and play that Duke Nukem stuff because I know that it is like it's going to be a hot trash and a good time. On the other hand, Yakuza Kiwami, you don't have an excuse to not play that game. Play that game. Play Yakuza Kiwami, for the love of God.
Should that be my first Yakuza game?
Yes, it's totally fine to start there. Some weird pedantic Yakuza fans will point out that 0 is a better starting point. They're incorrect. I disagree. You can play either first. But the good news is, if you play Yakuza Kiwami and you enjoy it, you can play its immediate successor, Yakuza Kiwami 2, which is a completely updated brand new game on the new engine, and it's a ton of fun. I highly recommend that one as well if you enjoy the characters and situations introduced in Yakuza Kiwami. It's a goddamn good time.
But Max, how much will it cost to get into Yakuza Kiwami this November?
It's only free. It's on PlayStation Plus. Just download the game. Just play it. Just beat the crap out of these guys. Just go nuts. Use
Max,
rush combos.
PlayStation Plus isn't free. What should I do?
I don't know, man.
So you're supposed to say steal $60 from somebody.
Yeah, go out in the street, beat the crap out of some street punks with a parking cone and a
Don't-
bicycle.
don't
Go
do that.
Use violence to solve your problems.
No, we do not advocate that here.
Beat the crap out of these guys. No, but seriously, if you got PlayStation Plus and you haven't played a Yakuza game, just grab this one, give it a shot. The series consistently hooks people in ways that they don't expect. I keep recommending it to everybody. I just wouldn't shut up about it for months. You're still on the road
Because no one will tell me which game to start
I
with.
told you, play Kiwami.
And then
I've been there
everybody
too,
else in
bro.
the comments said
You
0.
You can play it. Everyone in the comments, yeah, they say 0.
Okay, I'm going to start with Kiwami.
Start with
I will.
Kiwami. If you like it, you can basically go forward or backwards. You can immediately jump into 0, which is like a lot of the same stuff but bigger, or you can jump forward to Kiwami 2 and play that. But no, I'm super stoked about this. I'm going to be gone for most of the rest of the month because I'm going to be on my honeymoon in Japan, visiting the streets of Kamurocho
Don't
and
get arrested.
Sotobori. I'm going to beat the crap out of people with bicycles. It's going to be great. I'm just going to hit I'm not going to do
We
that.
would like
No.
you to come back.
No, there will
Please
be no
don't do that.
violence.
Yeah. After speaking about the game so much on the show, I have consistently been like, I really need to check that out like every few weeks. And now finally I have no excuse.
Yeah.
After everything in November comes out and I play that too.
I mean, even if you just kind of hoard it and like it's like a totally non-committal thing to just download it to your library, just have it there, and then on some rainy Sunday afternoon be like, maybe I should find out the joys of beating a man with a bicycle.
And then PlayStation sends you that email that says thanks for your purchase, and you get worried, but it's not a purchase. It's $0.00.
Funds
Just
have
do
been
it.
added to your wallet. $0.00 has been added to your wallet.
That's I want that changed on PlayStation 5.
That's what we should.
We're
yeah,
proud to
okay.
announce we no longer send you receipts for free games.
Honestly, day one purchase for me.
Yeah.
Much like Max has an obvious enthusiasm for the Yakuza franchise, you may have heard I have a bit of enthusiasm for the Kingdom Hearts franchise. And so, amazingly, I really thought I would have to stretch. There is more news this week for me to do a Kingdom Hearts 1 minute.
All right.
A weekly minute of Kingdom Hearts news.
1 minute of Mickey.
Oh boy.
The
Let me
Mickey
know.
Minute. All right. We got 1 minute on the clock.
Can you?
Take it away. 3, 2, go.
So, have you been wondering where to start with the Kingdom Hearts franchise? Well, good news. Later this month, is coming Kingdom Hearts The Story So Far, as you can see helpfully on the video version of this show.
What the
If you were wondering what to do about Kingdom Hearts and you're a PlayStation 4 player and you haven't bought 1.5 and 2.5, because that sounds weird, and why would I buy 2.8 if I haven't even bought 1.5? Where's 1? I don't know what's happening. Good news. You can buy all of them together at once. Yes, that's right. Kingdom Hearts The Story So Far combines all of the games and the games that were turned into just basically cutscene compilations in one package. You will have no excuse to be like, where do I start with Kingdom Hearts? It's literally just going to be all there in this one thing.
How many
Just
games?
buy it. I believe if you include like the compilation cutscenes, it's like 9 games or so.
Name them.
All right, Kingdom Hearts 1 Final Mix, Kingdom Hearts Re-Chain of Memories, Kingdom Hearts 2 Final Mix, Kingdom Hearts Recoded, that's cutscenes, Kingdom Hearts 358 over 2 days, that's cutscenes, Kingdom Hearts 2 Final Mix, Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep. I also think it's the Final Mix version. I could be wrong. Who knows? There's a lot
And
of
that's
stuff.
the time. That's the clock. That's it. That's all the time we have for Kingdom Hearts.
There's 9
talk.
games
You'll
in
never
there?
know what else is on the
So,
compilation.
How?
For
Good Lord.
reference,
You can finish. You can
yes.
finish.
Obviously this is a PlayStation show. Kingdom Hearts 3 is coming to Xbox One and PS4. This compilation is only coming to PS4. It is not coming to Xbox One. Yeah.
Man.
So if you are an Xbox owner and you've never owned any of the systems these other games have been on, you're going to be jumping in.
How will they ever catch up with everything?
The Kingdom Hearts story so far, buy a PlayStation 4. It's probably going to be on sale this holiday.
So I got to ask, how long do you think that would take to play all those games, all 9 games?
Well, so especially if you are like on a time crunch and you don't want to watch the cutscene compilations and you don't want to do some of the smaller side games.
No, I'm sorry, if you sat down and you played those start to finish and you didn't skip the cutscenes and you really just...
It's the 7 plus carry the 14. You have at least over 100 hours.
Good Lord.
Good God.
All right.
Yeah,
How sick would you be
I was
afterwards?
expecting more. That seems like kind of light on content, if you ask me,
It
honestly.
depends if you're rushing through. Yeah, there's a lot of... I think you could play through like mainline the Kingdom Hearts 1, 2, Birth by Sleep, and a couple of the other main games, probably in about 20 to 30 hours each. And then each of the other games could take you anywhere from 15 to 30. So... that'll adjust. You're probably looking at least at 150.
I was going to say, that's a lot more than 100.
Yeah, I don't know how numbers work.
That's like 300 hours.
I'm so happy you like Kingdom Hearts because it means that I don't have to.
Well, now I'll have no excuse to play Yakuza. If only Kingdom Hearts were free on
Okay,
PS
fine.
Plus.
I will check out Kingdom Hearts, sort of. I'll play like the Toy Story level.
Oh, I'll take that. Yeah,
Is that okay?
Yeah, it's a fun level. I played a bit
right?
of it before.
As for me, I won't.
That's fair. I wouldn't expect anything else.
I will not. I'm not gonna do that.
Well,
I'll play the Yakuza Kiwami though. That sounds
that's
like a good time.
I got 50% of you with that, so that's fine.
Can you beat up people with a parking cone in Kingdom Hearts?
It's all big
TBD?
keys.
Who knows what's in Kingdom Hearts?
Or is
3?
it just big keys?
You got big keys. Yeah.
Don't say that.
Big keys. I'm not going to say that phrase anymore. What I am going to say is we're moving on to a quick segment of Rapid Fire where we answer questions from the Beyond Facebook group, which is facebook.com/groups/podcastbeyond. If you haven't joined that wonderful group of people, please do, and you can ask questions every week, of course, about the show. The first question that we have from Steve Barron, ribs or wings?
Wings.
Wings.
Yeah.
Ribs are great, but like that's like if you got to pick one, you can do way more with. There's way more variety from wings, and also ribs are like they're like a sometimes treat.
I had ribs for dinner last night because I went to Costco, and when you go to that like the weird rotisserie hut they have by the meat section in Costco, there's rotisserie chickens and then there's ribs, and then like there's 70 rotisserie chickens and they sell like 14 a second, and there's like 6 things of ribs and no one really buys them. And last night I bought them, and I asked my wife, I'm like, "Do you want some of these?" And she's like, "No." And so I just cut half a rack of ribs and I like put it in the oven for a few minutes and I took it out and I just had this large sheet of bones and fat, and I just started gnawing on it like an old wolf. And I was like, "Hey, the next time I go to get these, tell me to stop."
The thing about ribs is that you have to floss afterwards.
Yeah.
No matter what.
Yeah,
And
you're a wreck.
you only sometimes get like chicken wings stuck in your teeth. But like ribs, that's not even that is a part of the deal.
When you get those great fall off the bone ribs, that's amazing. You know, the ones where you walk by them and they're like, "Oh heavens," and they collapse.
Oh dear.
Those are the best.
That's the exception, not the rule, though. My girlfriend and I ordered wings 3 nights in a row 2 weekends ago.
That's a damn good time.
Yeah, it was pretty great because we found some really good honey mustard wings.
Speaking of Costco, I've been in a 2 month long battle with my wife because they only sell chicken wings there in like in a bag that would be described as what they use to fill lawn leaves. And it's enough wings to kill a party of people. And she won't let me buy it because it'll take up a whole freezer, and I keep trying to get it. And one day I'm going to drive there in the night by myself and fill our whole freezer with chicken wings.
I got
like
an idea.
A crazy man.
You should buy it. I can keep it in my freezer, and I can bring you bags of wings every day.
We'll invite Greg Miller over. He can do that thing where he sucks on the way. It's amazing magic, that man.
It's magic. It's creepy, but it's magic.
It's creepy magic.
Nick Jackson asked, going back to Resident Evil 2, if I was scared by RE2 the first time around, am I likely to feel the same or worse with this updated version? Having not played the first version, I'm going to say yeah.
I don't know. I mean, you were probably a big baby back then. That was a long time ago.
Maybe he
you're
was
grown
a
up
baby.
now.
Are you still 12? Like I don't. Yeah, I was.
If you are, can science study you? Because that's amazing.
That's
You've
a
been
pretty
12
impressive.
for a long
It's
time.
not even a Benjamin Button case. That would be a Nick Jackson case. That would be very good for him.
Yeah.
Nick Jackson, the person who asked the question. That would be his own case.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Anyway.
I don't know. It's weird seeing because this is a Facebook thing that's just like printed out, but I don't know if this is the Nick Jackson that I know or a different one. But if this is the Nick Jackson that I know, hey Nick.
It's an incredibly rare combination of names, too.
Yeah.
No one has either of them at all. It's no one named Nick.
Ryan Conrad asks, what is the dream remake game from a Sony platform where they can remake it but change it up like Capcom with sort of the RE2 treatment?
Oh,
Apis game.
man.
Metal Gear Solid.
I was going to say Metal Gear Solid 5. Like, it'd be cool to see that game end. And also
to finish it.
Yeah.
That'd be interesting. I mean, I think taking that engine and remaking the first or the original Metal Gear, throwing that on there, or Metal Gear Solid, like either one. Ape Escape would be good. I want hyper realistic apes. We've talked about this before. There's that there's that ape.
So unsettling.
There's that chimpanzee that escaped from the zoo in Japan. And
what's his name again?
What is it?
Cham Cham or whatever.
Sandy or something.
Cham Cham or Sandy?
It's freaking
none of those.
Got loose and he just ran around and went up in the phone poles and they had like a bunch of guys with hats came out and tried to catch him.
Horrible.
It was
it's
so
some of the most ridiculously and unsettling photos.
There's all these games out there about like catching animals, but they're always like fake animals. You know, they're always like or else you just kill them. I want like a survival horror game that is just a completely like deadpan realistic game about being animal control.
I want. Let's one up that. I want realistic Monkey Ball, where you put a live, not a real live one, but
it's an FMV game,
a real video game chimpanzee in a giant sphere, and roll him down a hill.
Imagine those worlds being like crazy HD realistic environments.
I want that for like
everywhere.
Like give me like a hyper realistic like Crash Bandicoot or Ape Escape. Sonic the Hedgehog I feel like would be too slow. But you know, just give me or the animal like Resident Evil. But you go into a room and it's like a huge mess everywhere, and there's like 3 raccoons, and you're like, ah, crap! I gotta use this stick to catch them.
Just go into this large kitchen and find a bat. The bat is somewhere.
You gotta use like a tennis racket, throw a blanket on it, whatever.
Yep. Either that or Parappa.
What was the question?
That
again?
classic PlayStation game, Animal Control. Moving on, Jorge Arcienega Vargas asks, best side quest ever. We may have some content going up on IGN similar to that, but
do we?
Maybe. Who knows? Does anyone have anything right off the bat? I played one recently. It's not the best side quest ever, but, and this is not spoilers, I know the game is recent, really. Assassin's Creed Odyssey has this, I won't spoil the end of the quest, but the quest begins where this girl is like, I need to get jewelry for my friends. Can you find me some jewelry? But she mispronounces jewelry, so it's like gooery, which is just, it's like this weird setup where you know something is going to be weird about it. And I wish it had been even a little weirder. Like the end of the side quest is actually sadder than I expected.
Oh.
But I was really expecting it to just be this dark turn where like her best friend is a demon or like an Egyptian mummy, and that's how they combined Origins and Odysseys.
Off the top of my head,
Odyssey.
the Bloody Baron from Witcher 3, hands down. The Talking Dog one from Skyrim's pretty good. I think all like the Dark Brotherhood stuff in Skyrim's really good. It's a long list of them from Yakuza. There's one where you wind up fighting a bunch of dudes dressed like babies in diapers. There's one where there's a horny guy in his underwear. I forget what you have to even do with him. There's numerous ones where you have to bring toilet paper to people who are stuck in the bathroom, or they have to get them clean underwear because they crap their pants.
Recently, there's a great one in God of War where the boy's like, hey, there's this guy that can do some magic to bring back mom. And you're like, okay, we'll give that a shot, but it's going to be bullshit. And then you go and you fight all these people, and then this guy shows up, and he tries to bring his wife back, but she turns into a demon and kill her.
Yeah.
And then Kratos is like, see, you idiot boy. And he's like, I'm sorry, I really screwed this up. That's a great one. I also love the Flute Boy in Link to the Past.
Oh, yeah.
And he turns into a tree. It's so terrifying.
Barrett saying Mad Hatter in Arkham City.
Oh, that's a really good one. Yeah.
That's a good one.
I think that was one I just stumbled upon randomly. I think I don't know if that's how it happens for everyone. I wasn't really on the internet back then, but it's just kind of like, you accidentally ended up in this really trippy environment for a second. Yeah, a lot of the side stuff in Arkham felt like a model to me for, that was the thing I wanted superhero games to take away. It was like, this is how you can incorporate a lot of villains in a smart way.
The Vault in Fallout where everything's like peachy. Everything's like Andy show, and it's all like, I forget which vault number that is, but that one's good.
I think there's Vault 75, or someone was doing the math. I think it's Vault 75. It's just a one with a bunch of like ventriloquist dummies or clowns or something like that. Like one of them is.
There's some that are all, we did this video shoot a while ago. I think it was when Fallout 4 was coming out, and it was a bunch of like histories of vaults, and it's like they dressed me up as, I think I did the narration or something, but it's all these like terrible like sketches where it's like reenacting what happened, and they're very odd. They're very funny and very, very weird.
Last question, last but not least. Jacob Meyer asks, opinions on the Weezer Africa cover. That's Jacob, not me. Personally, am not a fan. Max, shaking your head.
That song to begin with, I'm just sort of like, okay, it's fine. It's whatever. It's fine. And the Weezer thing is just like,
it's just the song.
Yeah.
Yeah, nothing crazy.
I'm fine. It's fine. It's fine. If you like it, that's great. It's the pumpkin spice latte of music. Like you can have it. It's cool if it brings you joy. I'm not going to try to ruin that for you, but
Brian, would you ever do a Weezer Africa cover? Cover of Weezer doing a cover of
No,
Africa?
hard pass on that.
Fair enough.
Good.
Well, I can think of no better way to end the show with that enthralling discussion about Weezer's Africa.
Chicken wings.
Before we go, a very important announcement. As you may have noticed earlier in the show, we did a tally of votes.
We took the votes.
Yeah,
the votes are in.
The votes are in. I am officially the host of Beyond.
Woo!
Yeah.
There was a joke at the beginning, but I am actually officially the host of Beyond.
Yeah.
Going forward.
And if you don't like it, that sucks. I don't care. We don't care. We don't care. He doesn't care. He doesn't want to read that. Just like
I care about being host.
Yeah.
I don't get
just be nice about this, please, for the love of God. It's when I took over the show, hosting the show a million years ago after Greg, that was miserable. Getting all the people who were like, Greg and Colin were better. Bring Greg back. Where'd Greg go? Scoville sucks. It's like, it's horrible. Like, if you don't like it, go pursue something else. There's no shortage of podcasts out there. Jonathan is phenomenal at this. He's really, really good.
Thank you.
So please support him. Give him a chance. Let him find his footing. Let him work through whatever messy footing there is. But
Kingdom Hearts began long ago.
yeah, you're lovely to work with, and you're fantastic at hosting the show. And I think you actually genuinely do have the PlayStation passion. And I hope no crappy comments beat that out of you.
Personally, I think
appreciate
the
that.
show's gone downhill since Max stopped hosting it, and I think he should take over. But no, I'm just kidding. Jonathan, you're fantastic at the show.
Thank you.
I am incredibly excited to make the show with you and continue to make the show with you. I think you're a wonderful man and fantastic.
Thank you.
And you have great glasses and a good beard.
That's
You're
all.
very nice.
That's why they accepted me for the glasses. No, thank you both so much. I've been listening to Beyond since its first episode. Through all the good and bad commenters out there, I've really loved listening to the show ever since then, being able to listen to all eras of it. And right before I was coming to IGN, it was all so much about listening to you guys on the show and learning from all the wackiness of what you guys were able to put out. And I loved it so much and learned so much from being on this show with you guys. And I can't thank you enough for letting me jump in here and test out this whole hosting thing and actually being able to do it.
We love working with you, man. And this is a show that is very near and dear to me, and it's been a big part of IGN's DNA for a long time, and a lot of great people have been a part of it. And it's not so much about one or two people or three or four people. It's a dynasty. It's a baseball team. It's going to go on for decades. And
It's like the Avengers,
Yeah.
Like characters get swapped in and out, whatever. It's like we had one sort of lineup for 3 years and some change, and then it's time to sort of change the guard a little bit. So,
Yeah. And I think
we'll still be around. Like,
Yes.
we'll be on it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, we've been talking a lot about like what the future of the show looks like and what we do. And to me, like there is no show, especially with me hosting, there is no show without you guys is a huge part of it. And I think we will try, there will be some changes. We'll try some things out. We'll see how they go. There will be much more Kingdom Hearts, obviously. It'll be 2 minutes now. But
you're drunk with power.
finally. But no, the show will still be, it's very important to me to keep what that dynasty is and honor that dynasty. And I don't think if you're a fan out there who's listening and hearing this, I don't want you to be like, oh, the show's changing and it's going to be terrible forever.
Change is like, if we didn't have change, we'd all still be playing PlayStation 1. Like,
Yeah.
can I put you on the spot?
Yes.
Can you rank the top 4 PlayStation button shapes?
Ooh, boy. Square is personally at the bottom for me.
Okay. But they're at the top of your game developers.
Yes, they are. Square, or this is worst to best. Square, X,
Cross.
excuse me.
We're going to boot you.
Yeah, that's fair. I ruined it from day one. Circle,
That's a good one.
triangle.
I
Really?
completely agree.
Yes,
Triangle's
my top.
Yep.
Not just because it is the top mechanically on the
Well,
control.
no, if you put a triangle in the middle of anything, the other things above it will fall. So
Yeah.
triangle goes on top, like the floating pyramid eye on the back of the dollar bill.
I think I would have swapped. Good Lord, what a terrible thing to rank. I think the X button's real good.
X is solid.
Cross.
Yeah.
Just
Cross,
X.
whatever.
It's now the X button on this era of Beyond.
We don't say that letter
PlayStation
here.
fans.
That's a Microsoft letter. We say cross.
Fair. Well,
I'm very cross with both of you now.
well, thank you guys both so much again for welcoming me into this family of the show and for being here as we embark on many wonderful more episodes.
Yeah,
of
let's
Beyond.
make some cool shows.
We got some other changes on the way too. Some nice things. Some good things.
Some more stuff is coming, so look forward to that
So
pretty
there's
soon.
a pigeon hidden in this episode. Can you spot
Where
it?
could he
That's weird.
or she
Where's
be?
Where
This
is
is
it?
no.
Can you find that bird?
Don't
You'll-
show me. I don't have the pigeon.
The pigeon was inside us all along. No, thank you, of course, so much for listening to episode 562 of Beyond. Remember, Beyond is live every Wednesday at 3 p.m. Pacific at beyond.ign.com, and then 24 hours later, everywhere you expect to hear it. Thank you all so much for listening.
You revealed where it was.
Oh no. You can find me on Twitter, hopefully not with this bird, at JM Dornbush. Brian, where can people find you?
chicken wings.
Hereditary 2 in theaters soon.
Also at Agent Bizzle. And Max, where can people find you?
Max Scoville, or on the streets of Tokyo.
Oh boy.
Seriously.
Anyway, thank you all so much for listening. And as usual, beyond.
It's Barrett. He's excited
Beyond.
about the bird.